What's up, guys? I'm sure that's a good sign.
Super Smash Bros. Brawl. People fucking hate this game. The Super Smash Bros. Series has always been one that garnered a lot of attention. 1999, Smash 64 kicked off the series with a unique yet somewhat dated first look at this crazy Nintendo crossover, and 2001 Super Smash Bros. Melee bumped the series up to a whole new level with an impressive amount of modes, characters, and collectibles, on top of having crazy fun and competitive gameplay as well. So after these two games, and especially after Melee's insane popularity and sales numbers, people were curious as to where the Smash series would go next.
Downhill.
Brawl is not a lot of people's preferred Smash game, to say the least. Slow gameplay, broken balance, and a ton of other factors led to this game being considered as a disappointment in a lot of people's eyes. But damn it, I can't help it. I love this game. It's probably just due to... But Brawl is a game I hold near and dear to my heart for a couple of reasons. I've briefly mentioned the story before, but when I was younger, my brother and I would often be dropped off at a family friend's house to be babysitted, and it's because of her that I was introduced to a whole new world through video games. One day she picked up a Nintendo Wii with Super Smash Bros. Brawl alongside it, and I was immediately in love. The gameplay was unlike anything I had played before, and all the characters, especially the ones I didn't know, were also cool and fun to play as. I loved the game so much that later that year I would receive my own Wii and copy of Brawl just so I could play it at my own home. Brawl was my first introduction to the Super Smash Bros. Series, and without it, I wouldn't go on to discover even more games and franchises that I love to death today. So keep all that in mind when I tell you why I love this game. But before I can go any further, let's discuss some history. Flashback to E3 2005, then president of Nintendo Satoru Iwata was highlighting the company's up-and-coming gaming console, the Nintendo Revolution. In passing, he mentioned that a new Super Smash Bros. Game was planned for the new system and was expected to be a launch title on release. The news was surprising to series creator Masahiro Sakurai, since at this point he was no longer working at HAL Laboratory, the company in charge of developing the previous Smash Bros. Games, and he was also never formally contacted about the existence of a new game. The next day, however, Iwata met with Sakurai and requested for him to be involved in the production of the new game, preferably as its director or as close to director level status as possible. Sakurai accepted the offer, and the game officially entered development in late 2005. So yeah, the newest Super Smash Bros. Game went into production after already being announced to be in production. Believe me when I say this won't be the last time this happens. 1 year later at E3 2006, the first trailer for Super Smash Bros. Brawl was revealed for Nintendo's new console, now going by, well, that's a worse name. I always loved watching this trailer as a kid. Mario, Link, Pikachu, and Kirby shift into their gross, realistic HD models, final smashes and assist trophies were revealed, and a whole helping of new characters were announced as well. Meta Knight from the Kirby series, Zero Suit Samus from Metroid, Wario rocking his WarioWare design, and even Pit from Kid Icarus made into this game, also known as Who? And the trailer all culminated with Solid Snake from Metal Gear Solid joining the fight, officially opening the floodgates for any video game character to make it into Smash. After this trailer, the game's development went pretty silent, that is until May 22nd, 2007, when Brawl's official website, the Super Smash Bros. Dojo, was launched, with new pieces of information being revealed every single weekday until the game's release. The pieces of information shared range from new characters, stages, modes, and everything else in between. Now, I didn't personally visit the dojo much during Brawl's wait cycle. I was like 7 at the time, and my internet usage was pretty limited to say the least. But I know a ton of people would stalk this site waiting for that day's piece of news to drop, only for those same people to realize I stayed up until 3 in the morning for fucking banana peels. But on those rare occasions, there would be some pretty cool stuff shown off, especially when that fateful day of October 10th, 2007 arrived and people were exposed to...
Sonic's the name, speed's my game.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yep, Sonic the Hedgehog made it into the game, but due to his late inclusion and because the development team wanted some more time to fine-tune the overall game, Brawl saw a couple of delays and got pushed back from October 7th, 2007 to March 9th, 2008 in North America. And when that long-awaited March 9th release date finally hit, it received critical and commercial acclaim, with a small asterisk being placed on top of that. While the game was praised in many aspects, it was also looked down upon in others, like with its slower gameplay and more casual-friendly design. And because of that, this game saw minimal competitive play and was quickly dropped in favor of Melee by the more hardcore Smash crowd. Due to these complaints, Brawl always had the least amount of praise of any of the Smash games, and its reputation is kind of a joke nowadays.
Well, today I'm going to prove all the naysayers wrong and explain why your opinion is actually bad. So with all that said, let's get into it. This is Super Smash Bros. Brawl.
Brawl begins with an eardrum rupturing and a somewhat long load time. While we wait for that, let's take a gander at the game's box art. I didn't really talk about the box art for the last 2 games, but I always liked Smash 64's cartoon illustrations even if some of the artwork is being covered up, and Melee's gross early 2000s renders of the characters make this look more like a screenshot than official box art. However, in comparison, Brawl's box art is absolutely sublime. The lighting and shadows are incredible, and the composition is top notch too, especially with it not making the entire thing feel cluttered despite all these characters being on it. I always really like the logo for this game as well, with the metallic silvering outlining the red text and with the rougher Brawl letting you know that shit is about to go down. Alright, after the wait, we're introduced to Brawl's intro, and what an intro it is. Obviously, Melee is the king of Super Smash Bros. Openings, but Brawl's is nothing to scoff at either. It intercuts random shots of gameplay alongside the cutscenes from this game's adventure mode, but the real star of the show is Brawl's main theme. The theme for Brawl is bold, grand, and pumps you up to beat up psychic children and electric rats. It's easily the most unique sounding out of all the Smash themes, with it using Latin lyrics and being composed by Final Fantasy composer Nobuo Uematsu. How could you not love this intro? I do wish the announcers screamed Super Smash Bros. Brawl like the announcers did for the title of the previous games, but hey, what can you do? Alright, here we are. Before we dive deeper, let me just check on something real quick. Yep, this is my save file, alright. To start somewhere, Brawl's roster at the time of release was the biggest in the series, however it was also the first game to cut characters from the previous titles. 5 characters from Melee were cut: Dr. Mario, Roy, Youngling, Pichu, and Mewtwo. Most of these characters were clones of other characters, so it kinda makes sense why they were removed in the transition to Brawl. Now Mewtwo, I have no f***ing clue why they cut him considering he was a completely unique fighter, but whatever. Despite the 5 cuts, Brawl makes up for it in spades with a much more refined and arguably more definitive roster. There's easy shoo-ins like Wario, Meta Knight, Diddy Kong, Olimar, and King Dedede, newer picks like Lucario from Pokemon and Ike from Fire Emblem, and even retro characters like Rob the Robot from the NES and Pit, who got a complete reimagining from his original design, and would later go on to star in a brand new 3DS title directed by Sakurai himself. Look at that. Alongside those characters, we have Zero Suit Samus, who can be played as after performing Samus' final smash or by inputting a button combination on the select screen, Lucas from the then and still unlocalized Mother 3, a couple of semi-clones like Toon Link and Wolf from Zelda and Star Fox respectively, and lastly, there's quite possibly the most unique Smash Bros. Character in Pokemon Trainer, allowing you to control Squirtle, Ivysaur, and Charizard, with you being able to switch between the 3 whenever you want. I love Brawl's new additions, but everything changed when they announced third-party characters would be joining the fight. For Brawl, we got both Solid Snake from Metal Gear Solid and Sonic the Hedgehog from Sonic the Hedgehog. Snake was kind of an odd choice for the first third-party Smash Bros. Character ever, but the story goes that Metal Gear's creator Hideo Kojima practically begged for Snake to be added to Melee, but he couldn't make it due to a lack of development time, so instead Sakurai decided to add him to Brawl to make up for that. It's odd, but Snake is still super cool to have here, even if he doesn't mesh all too well with the colorful characters of Nintendo. It's a similar story for Sonic. He was considered for Melee due to overwhelming fan requests, but was rejected because of the development time, and was later added here to Brawl after some late permission from Sega. Dude, I lost my mind when I figured out Sonic was in this game. Yeah, he's on the back of the box, but finally getting to play as him and face off against Mario in the game that wasn't Olympic based was such a great experience. Nowadays, I'm kinda neutral on Sonic in this game. It's pretty obvious he was a late addition considering 80% of his moves are spin dashes, but I'm still glad he's here. Overall, the roster for Brawl is fantastic. It trimmed the fat of Melee's roster and added so many characters that I couldn't imagine not being in Smash nowadays. Not to mention that the third-party picks completely revolutionized Smash Bros. Speculation, to the point where people get pissed when actual Nintendo characters make it into the new games instead of third-party characters. As for the stage selection, Brawl introduces a ton of great ones to the series. There are 41 stages compared to Melee's 29, and most of them are pretty fun to play on. WarioWare, Bridge of Eldin, Yoshi's Island, Halberd, Smashville, Shadow Moses Island, Luigi's Mansion, Pirate Ship, PictoChat, Green Hill Zone, all classics. There are a couple of stages in the nosebleed category like 75 meters, Mario Bros, Hannonbow, and Rumble Falls, but generally speaking most of the stages play great and look great as well. There are also 10 classic stages from Melee, but sadly no Smash 64 stages, and some of the picks are kind of strange as well. Rainbow Cruise and Jungle Japes aren't exactly must-play stages in my opinion, but at least we got Temple, Annette, and Corneria. Gameplay-wise, Brawl is still structurally the same Smash Bros. Everybody knows and loves. You beat up your opponents until their percent gets high enough, and then you blast them off the stage until time or your opponent's stocks run out. The big difference to the gameplay formula comes in how the game feels. Brawl is much slower than Melee was, no doubt due to the team wanting to appeal more to the Wii's casual audience, which consequently turned a lot of people away from playing it competitively. I don't personally hate how Brawl feels. If anything, I think people exaggerate its slowness, but it is certainly a little harder to go back to after playing the newer games in the series. Also not helping Brawl's competitive reputation are characters like Meta Knight, who easily excel over every other character in the game, and is largely considered to be one of the most overpowered fighting game characters of all time. Oh, also you can trip in this game, that's dumb. While I'm busy complaining, this game sure does have an art style. Brawl takes on a much more realistic looking art style compared to Melee, most likely done to make Brawl look better than Melee, since the two were on fairly similar consoles power-wise. My problem with doing that is that while the models in Melee look outdated and old, the game itself is still pretty pleasant to look at. Brawl, on the other hand, just kind of looks off. The denim and fur on characters like Mario and Donkey Kong just aren't nice to look at, and also Bowser's render here gives me glaucoma. I think as a whole the game still looks pretty good, but the realism added to the characters does kind of weigh it down for me. At least the music makes up for the visuals. There are a ton of music tracks to listen to, and like with Melee's remixes, some of these are absolutely phenomenal. Not only that, but you can even adjust the frequency of when tracks appear in the My Music section, so I can exclusively listen to environmental noises on the Pikmin stage for all eternity. Living the dream. Moving on, a lot of new items were added to Brawl, most notably the Smash Ball and Assist trophies. Break open the Smash Ball and press the B button to unleash a devastating Final Smash and annihilate your opponents in a stylish and satisfying way. I love the Final Smashes as a concept and mechanic. Sure, not all of them are winners, I don't know what the hell Luigi's doing here, but a lot of them are still great to pull off. Assist trophies spawn non-playable characters to assist you in taking down your opponents. Basically think of them as the Pokeball item, but with characters from all different kinds of franchises. Nowadays, a lot of people groan at the assist trophies for them essentially deconfirming characters that they would have rather preferred playing as, but for the game that introduced them, they're alright. If you want even more chaos, there are items like the Dragoon requiring you to collect 3 pieces of it then blast into other characters, the Smart Bomb, a massive explosion that grows larger and larger for a few short moments, and the Cracker Launcher, a bazooka that shoots blasts that bounce all around the screen. While I'll admit that I'm not a huge fan of playing Smash with items on, Brawl's selection of them is easily my favorite. They're all wacky and fun without being overbearing, and since this is the most casual out of all the Smash games, it's much more fun to bust these out during matches. As for the game's modes, well, I hope you like what Melee brought to the table because there's not a lot outside of that. Classic mode is about the same as previously, minus the unique minigames in between matches. Instead, we only have 2 rounds of Break the Targets, which fucking reeks in this game. Rather than creating a unique Break the Target stage for every character in the game, Brawl offers up only 5 preset ones based on what difficulty you're playing on. Look, I get it, there are 35 characters on this game, it's probably too difficult to make a unique stage for each and every one of them, but the ones here are just super lame. They're just not designed interestingly at all, and depending on the character, the stage will either be a breeze or absolute hell. Outside of that though, Classic mode is about the same as previously. Same thing for All-Star mode, you still go through every character in 1 life with 3 recovery hearts, except there's now a co-op option if you're into that. Event mode's back with 41 brand new scenarios and 21 additional ones for multiplayer, but it's basically the same as Melee. There's Stadium mode where you can select target smash on a whim, play home run contests returning from Melee, do multi-man brawl where you fight a bunch of opponents like in multi-man Melee, and lastly there's a boss battles mode where you face off against all the bosses from this game's adventure mode in an all-star-like gauntlet. I'll get into the can of worms that is adventure mode in a second, but overall, a lot of Brawl's extra modes are kind of lacking now that I'm viewing them with a more critical eye. As a kid I loved these, but now that I'm older and I've actually played everything Melee had to offer, it's pretty clear to see how much was borrowed or carried over from the previous game. Again, these modes are still really fun, but if you played them in Melee, you've played them here, and there aren't many other modes to really substitute for these.
Hey, look at that, Seconds Pass. Let's talk about adventure mode.
Brawl's main claim to fame is the addition of a full-length brand new adventure mode titled the Subspace Emissary. This is similar to the Melee mode, but bigger, grander, and longer in every way. While adventure mode in Melee took about 20 minutes to complete, here in Brawl the adventure mode is 7 hours long, with it being kind of repetitive for most of it. The main thing you'll be doing in this mode is platforming and beating up enemies throughout various levels as you progress more and more to the right. Then you rinse and repeat until you beat the final boss in the end and win. It's pretty monotonous, and not helping things is the level design in these stages being kind of basic. Playing Smash as a platformer is fine enough, but the amount of slow auto-scrolling sections and somewhat tight jumps throughout the entire mode can be kind of annoying. Another thing I don't like about these levels are the environments you explore and enemies you defeat. In Melee you get to run through the Mushroom Kingdom, a dungeon in Zelda, and even Brinstar while it was exploding. But here you just run through generic jungles, forests, and deserts with very little Nintendo fan service being present throughout. The music that plays in these stages makes it seem like these locations are from actual Nintendo games, but that's all they have going for them most of the time. The enemies are also just random jobbers created exclusively for the story. On the odd occasion you'll fight Mario enemies or a horde of Robs, but like the level themes, the enemy variety is very lacking. At least the boss fights have you go up against actual Nintendo bad guys for the most part, but that just makes it even more baffling as to why they didn't go all out on the fan service for these levels. It's fine to have a unique villain and opposing force for the entire mode, but would adding more locations and enemies from say Zelda, Pikmin, or Pokemon on top of the current selection hurt at all? So yeah, while the gameplay isn't all that impressive, the real enjoyment of this mode comes from the cutscenes in the game that I guess this is telling a story. The Subspace Emissary carries on the idea that all the fighters in Smash Bros. Are actually trophies brought to life, so throughout the game they all have to team up and find new characters to stop a force that wants to plunge the world into a dimension called Subspace. During the adventure, characters will encounter other characters, groups will form or square off, and it all culminates in you facing off with this Blue Man Group reject in the end. Oh, hey Sonic. So if Smash is supposed to be about a kid playing with his Nintendo toys, does that mean Taboo is supposed to represent my stepdad Steven barging in my room telling me to stop playing games and do something productive with my life? Anyway, the cutscenes in the Subspace Emissary are easily the best part about the whole mode. Seeing these characters interact in these really high quality animations is super neat, and even though there's no spoken dialogue, the mode still does have a lot of cool moments. Mario and Kirby battle at the start of the story just like in the intro to Smash 64, Donkey Kong sacrifices himself to save Diddy Kong, Luigi gets demolished by King Dedede super early on in the story, and then there's my favorite part with Marth, Ike, and Meta Knight teaming up and just going around f***ing up bad guys. The moments and character interactions really make this mode special. While the gameplay and story are whatever, the cutscenes always make this an absolute treat every time I decide to go through it again. Yeah, I've played this mode a bit more times than necessary because even with its flaws, there's something really enjoyable about it that makes this mode a must play whenever I boot up Brawl again. It helps that it's also the easiest way to unlock all the characters relatively quickly, but I also just genuinely love how ambitious this mode was, and it's still, after all these years, the best adventure mode in any Smash game. Well, outside of the Subspace Emissary, Brawl's other main claim to fame is being the first Smash game to have online multiplayer. Let's give it a shot. I don't know what I was expecting. Brawl's Online was garbage, man. Every match was laggy and unplayable. It's infamously bad. Now, I only got to play Brawl Online a handful of times, but yeah, it wasn't great. Well, with the Nintendo Wii's internet being down for good, I guess I'll just have to take a look at whatever's on my immediate right. Oh my god. The Vault, a submenu housing all the collectibles and additional content in the game, most notably the trophies. The trophies returned from Melee, with there being a slew of brand new ones to ogle at, and these are still incredible extras to have in my opinion. The descriptions are better than ever, even more games including the system said games appeared on are listed, and now trophies are easier and even more fun to collect with a brand new coin launcher minigame. Coin Launcher allows you to use the coins earned throughout the rest of the game to shoot down trophies and stickers to add to your collection. I was addicted to this mode as a kid, so much so that I'm pretty sure I've gotten all the trophies you can actually get from this mode. And oh yeah, there are stickers in this game. They're neat, I guess. The purpose of stickers was to be used in the Subspace Emissary for character stat boost, but I've never met a single person who ever actually did that. The stickers are cool extras, I guess, but hunting down JPEGs isn't the funnest thing to do out there. Remember I said this. On the flip side, we have Stage Builder, a way for players to create their own Super Smash Bros. Stages, but only with preset tools and so long as it fits within a predetermined block limit. Stage Builder is fairly limited, all things considered, and while there's no reason to really touch this today, as a kid I absolutely loved this mode. Unfortunately, I don't have any of my old stages anymore, but I had an absolute blast with this mode nonetheless. Anyway, here's a Tetris stage. Outside of that, there's a challenges section presenting you with a wall of challenges to complete. One day I swear I'll beat this. Chronicle, which gives you a nearly complete list of all Nintendo published titles, which is really cool even though it's kind of dumb that you have to unlock titles for it. And lastly, there's the Masterpieces section, giving you short demos of a ton of classic Nintendo titles. Emphasis on short. Yeah, all of these demos have time limits and take an incredibly long time to load. But hey, this is still a super cool addition, even if the time up screen was a glorified jump scare to my 7-year-old self. Could you imagine seeing this pop-up message during sex? Well, despite its flaws, Super Smash Bros. Brawl is still such a phenomenal game to me. I know it's not as competitive as Melee, how its modes aren't very creative or inventive, and how its online was a complete dumpster fire, but despite all of that, I can't help but not love this game. It was the first Smash Bros. Game I ever owned. It was one of the first home console games I ever owned. I love this game so much, from its characters to its creative stages, its engaging modes, and its plethora of collectibles. Brawl is just a game that means too much for me to hate it. It's far from a perfect title, but I think it's much better than people give it credit for. And hey, if you just hate the gameplay that much, there is an extensive modding scene for this game that still exists even today. While it's not everyone's cup of tea, Brawl will always hold a special place in my heart.
Brawl's still a phenomenal game, no matter how often my doctors try to tell me otherwise. But the Masterpieces having such short trial times is still pretty disappointing. Like, imagine you're just trying to work on something and all of a sudden a pop-up shows up on screen and prevents that.